Join us today as we remember the Phantom Menace on its 25th anniversary. Hello and welcome back to the Geek of All channel. My name is Jim.
I'm Owen.
Bobbie.
I'm Chad.
And today, on this 25th anniversary of the Phantom Menace, we're just going to do some remembering, some fond thoughts about what we thought of the Phantom Menace. Now, first one I'll get out there and I'll throw out there just because everyone likes to make fun of me on is, out of all the prequel movies, the Phantom Menace is my favorite. And the only reason I like to say that, I think, is, well, one of the biggest reasons, is because it feels the most Star Wars to me because of the use of practical effects. Not so much Jar Jar, though. Yeah. But I'll take Jar Jar over C-3PO in the Attack of the Clones humor.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. That was, oh, geez. That was atrocious at times. It ruined probably one of the best battle scenes that they ever put into any of the movies in the arena battle by throwing his humor into it all.
Yeah. I actually saw something pretty recently talking about the making of all the various movies. And if I recall correctly, Anthony Daniels was not a fan. Like, I think that's the one he said, I just threw the script in the trash after I read it. And because there was that part, but also the fact that he's not on screen for most of it. You know, because when you see 3PO early on, once he gets to Tatooine in Attack of the Clones, he's bare. So it's not him, it's CGI. You know? And yeah, so he wasn't too happy with it.
Yeah. But we're here talking about the Phantom Menace,
That's right.
not Attack of the Clones. But I just want to make that comparison on that. So
No, Jim, I won't make fun of you for thinking the Phantom Menace is the best. As long as it wasn't Attack of the Clones, I can live with the answer of 1 or 3.
yeah.
I liked Attack of the Clones, but I'm a fan of the Clone Troopers. That's the primary reason.
Yeah, well, and I mean, I guess if you like Clone Troopers in very crappy CGI, but you know, the thing is, like, they could go in and like completely redo that entire movie, redo all of those battle scenes to make them look better. Again, here we go off going on the. This is going to end up turning into how can we bash Attack of the Clones
On the 25th anniversary of Attack the Clones, we'll talk about that.
Mark your calendars, that will be in 3 years. The movies are released 3 years apart. So yeah.
But, I mean, just starting off from the very beginning, you have a starship flying, you know, very New Hope reminiscent.
Yeah, the opening shot there with the Trade Federation blockade and Naboo and the Republic cruiser. Yeah, it's very reminiscent. As George Lucas says in all of his interviews, it's like poetry. It rhymes. I swear to God, he says that. You got to watch to know what I'm saying. And like, you can just see the looks of people around him, like, kind of like, if only we could tell you no, George, but we can't because we all work for you.
You know, and like that whole beginning sequence, the droidicas, them getting down to the planet's surface, honestly, very good set pieces, very entertaining. I mean, there wasn't any point that I was just like, I mean, obviously there was some controversy with the caricatures that were being played by the, but I don't even think they were that, like, that wasn't what I was thinking about at that point in time.
No, I did not think that the Neomodians were space Asians, and I didn't think Jar Jar was a space Rastafarian, I think is what they'd probably say, or Jamaican.
No, I mean, I thought Jar Jar was a little bit obnoxious, but, you know, and there were a little bit overuse on it, but I mean, you would have to expect that there would be, you know, kind of hillbillies in space too, so.
Well, we know there are. I'm sure we saw some of them in A New Hope. They're on Tatooine. Like, I mean, like
you mean everyone in the bar?
Yeah, but like Dr. Evazan, who's trying to act all tough. I've got the death sentence in 12 systems. It's like, okay, is this one of them? Should I be scared? Like, I mean, that's the implication. And then, of course, Obi-Wan's like, oh, it's a hive of scum and villainy. It's like, well, we saw people get murdered. It's like, yeah. He's like, you killed them, Obi-Wan. Like, but yeah. No, I actually recently watched The Phantom Menace in a theater because they had it back out. I know we talked a little bit about that, which marks the 9th time I've seen that in a theater. In its original theatrical run, I watched it 7 times. Because, like, a few of those, there was nothing else on, and people were paying me to take them to the theater, because it's like my sister's friends that didn't have licenses at the time. So, I was like, sure, as long as you pay for a ticket for me, to this movie, no, to the Phantom Menace. I'm not going to watch this trash you guys are going to watch. But, I think I even watched Wing Commander twice just to see the trailer a second time. Because it was the second trailer. I didn't go watch Meet Joe Black to see the first trailer.
I was getting ready to ask,
No.
This was, the hype for the Phantom Menace was so great that people went to go watch Meet Joe Black just to see the trailer.
And then they would leave.
And then they
Yeah.
Which Meet Joe Black didn't probably care, because they...
Yeah, I mean, boost some ticket sales. Which, for what it's worth, I did finally watch it. That's not a terrible movie.
It is actually a good movie.
But yeah, to Jim's point, when it all started up there, is just me and Sarah, who you've seen in other videos on our channel here. We're the only two there in the theater, and it was like, I was like, oh yes, finally a Star Wars movie I know I'm going to enjoy. Unlike when I went into like episodes 8 and 9, just dreading what I was going to see. But especially 9.
You went into 8 dreading.
I was dreading it, but I was like, The Force Awakens wasn't terrible. I just don't think it's a great Star Wars sequel to Return of the Jedi, but like maybe we can course correct. And then Rian Johnson's like, course correct. I'm going to set the ship on fire with everyone still on it. Good luck, JJ.
When you had the single greatest thing was who was Snoke, and you fumble that to the worst degree, where you could have made him, something to be feared, something to be...
Or Porkins, anything.
I still wanted him to be the kid in the Jedi Temple, the first kid that's like, Master Anakin.
Oh, yeah.
What are we going to do?
Yeah.
That his scar was from him getting sliced in the face and Anakin not going off to finish the job.
But yeah,
I just wanted him to be a unseen alien race, bringing something new.
Yeah. Well, that's a point in the favor of the Phantom Menace, because the Neomodians were new.
Mm-hmm.
The Gungans were new.
Yep.
Naboo was not Tatooine, even though we still wound up on Tatooine.
Well, and the new Neomodians actually brought in something that you saw kind of like in Star Trek, where you had the Vulcans and the Romulans.
Are they split off from the Duros?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, they are 100% they were a colony that left and have had actually different evolution because of the planet they...
Oh.
Yeah. So them and Cad Bane are distantly related there.
Yeah, I mean, you can see it in the face. Yeah.
Yes, and they are, I believe, done in like a brood, like they're hatched from eggs. And
at least in the old EU, Newt Gunray was hailed as a hero after Revenge of the Sith. They built big statues to him and everything. They're in Cater Nemoidia. I don't know if that's still the case in the current Disney canon, but that's the way it worked in the old EU. So,
to the point of new things, introduced with the Phantom Menace, the droids.
Yeah.
Combat droids.
Well, and you think people had to think, well, you have all these droids. Why are they using stormtroopers? I mean, obviously, I'm sure they used stormtroopers in the beginning because of budgetary things. Just because having everybody walk around with robots would probably be either expensive and, well, you get C-3PO, while a great looking droid. Some of the ones like in the Sandcrawler and.
Yeah, and I'd have to check the release dates, but they might have been afraid of a comparison to the Black Hole. Because, like, spoiler alert, everyone on the ship in the Black Hole's a robot. Or are they?
I don't know.
Watch a Disney horror movie from the 70s and you get back to me.
C-3PO was a homage to Metropolis, I believe.
Yeah.
But yeah, even watching it for the 9th time and it not really being that high on my favorites list, the only part that seemed to drag was the pod race, but I'm pretty sure it had the extra scenes that they put in for the home video version.
Where they announced
They announced like almost all the racers instead of just like the 3 or 4 that we kind of halfway care about. We had the flag ceremony and then all kinds of... I think the flag ceremony's in the regular. Yeah. But it's definitely longer. And it
you don't care about the other guy that didn't get off the start line and
the
started
Quadranero.
banging?
Because the original...
Ben Quadranero.
Yeah, the original it's Ben Quadraneros, Anakin, Sebulba, and I think like one other guy, right? Maybe 2. But this went through like 10. And I was just like, okay, like...
My question is, though, with the pod racing, that whole thing is, if the amount of fatalities that happen in a single race, how are there any seasoned racers?
Well...
Because you have them like Sebulba who are sabotaging the other pod racers.
Well, it's like in another movie I can see the case to here at the moment. The Death Race 2000. How Frankenstein has been in like several races, but then you find, spoiler alert for a movie from the 70s, folks, that you should definitely watch. It's Roger Corman's greatest movie, probably.
And his second greatest is Death Race 2050.
By the way, shout out to Roger Corman. He passed away about a week and a half ago, too. Dude is like 94, I think, or 96, and he had 3 movies in production. Like, we can all only wish to be like that at the end. But, yeah, Death Race 2000, like Frankenstein, he's been in all these races, but you find out it's just a different guy each time in makeup. You know, it's not even the same guy. So it could be something like that, you know, where it's a race that, since Star Wars is predominantly human, you know, where humans can't easily distinguish between them.
But he's the first one with the grenade hand.
Yes, the grenade hand.
Which
truly spectacular.
Which, I mean, we're not talking just like his hand was a grenade. No, he had a grenade like fused.
Yeah, I think didn't they call it a hand grenade? That ended, but like you said, ended up literally being a hand with a grenade in the middle of it as a fake hand that you could twist off and.
Which, you know, you could not tell it was there with the glove on.
No, that was his shifting hand too. I don't know how he closed his hand. It's like. Enter the Dragon, the main bad guy has metal hands, which, like, once you know they're those and he's fighting with them, he never repositions them. But all throughout the rest of the movie before that point, you know, he has articulated fingers and everything. Like, nah, this shouldn't really work. But that movie's all about Bruce Lee whooping ass. But yeah, so that's the only point that I thought really kind of sagged. And, you know, I mean, I could see people's complaints about, oh, the Senate and politics and all this, but it's like, well, that's important. Like, that's the Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
You know? In case you didn't figure it out over 25 years, it's Palpatine and the Sith.
Spoiler alerts for the 2 movies that come after the Phantom Menace, Bobbie.
Yeah, that's the thing I was watching. Ian McDermott is in that too, and he's like, oh, well, I'm going to play this politician guy. All right. And he's reading through it, you know, and he's like, wait, I'm also playing this mysterious cloaker. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's why they called me back. That makes sense.
You know, there was one scene in there that, in context, like in the movie, it makes sense because they want to put in all of the drama, and that's where Boss Nass is talking about sending them through the planet core, and you can go through the planet core.
Yeah,
and I'm like, well, don't you do this on a daily basis? Like, I get that it's dangerous, but it's...
well, the 12-hour short video on the Phantom Menace, I think that's about where I was at, where they were talking about that part. And it's like, look, it's probably a figure of speech, excuse me, that you're going to be going deeper, but like the planet could not have a liquid core like that of water.
No.
You know, like physics says no, that's just not going to happen. Especially since their main export is plasma.
Yeah, from the planet's core.
Yeah. But speaking of Boss Nass, up until this time, when I saw the credits, I had no idea that was Brian Blessed doing his voice. Do you know who Brian Blessed is? Voltan, leader of the Hawkmen and Flash Gordon.
What?
Dive! You know that guy. Yeah. Also several other roles, but that's the one you need to remember.
Yes, it is.
Also played in the very beginning of Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. He's Robin Hood's dad whenever Alan Rickman and his posse show up and kill him.
Are you just looking?
He is.
Are you just looking across the way? Because you talked about Death Race 2000.
Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
No, I didn't even see Robin Hood. The Death Race one, though, I did see that.
So
no, I didn't see the Robin Hood one.
Yeah, say off camera, I've got some movies and some games, and yeah, they're just happen to be both on that shelf right across the way for the references. You're gonna make one reference to the War of Gems?
Well,
or Immortal.
I mean, if I have some time, I could probably come up with one, but.
What about Onslaught?
You know, we're trying to keep this kind of short, but...
No, so a couple of things, you know, before, you know, because this kind of came to mind was some of the ships that came in. The Nubian...
J-50?
Yes, the Naboo ship.
Yeah.
Beautiful design. I like the chromium. The Lucre Hulks, very intimidating. Actually, could see them being a cargo ship that was converted into a battle,
Yeah.
battle armaments, and then the Counselor, the public ship.
Yeah.
I mean, very reminiscent. I mean, I think it's Corellian even. I could be wrong on that, but it has that look of like the Corellian Corvette, which was obviously the first ship you see in New Hope.
The Blockade Runner.
Yeah. Yes, before it gets chased by the more, obviously cooler ship. The
far more intimidating Imperial Star Destroyer.
Yes, because you see,
Type 1, I believe.
You're like, hey, look at that cool. That ship's pretty big, and then it's like,
yeah,
it's like, okay, was this ship ever going to end? I mean, obviously, Spaceballs paid off.
Yeah, I was going to say the Spaceballs scene. Yeah.
But no, I was going to say, like all the ships, the pod racers. I mean, very practical in all the vehicles, and I think again that's something that I think some of the later movies and stuff kind of dropped the ball on, especially that one ship that Princess Leia flew on, which like flew sideways, whereas had like
yeah,
the modified B-wing that was a carrier.
Yeah, that weird thing.
Yeah. You have that, the weird thing that Rey rode around Jakku on.
Her speeder bike.
Yes.
That had cargo capacity.
The First Order transport ship, where it was like trapezoid.
Well, it had I think what they were trying to do with it was trying to like a landing ship from landing craft from Normandy.
Yeah, that's what they were trying to invoke there.
Yeah, but like the cockpit's like very pronounced.
Yeah.
Well, it's supposed to give you a overview of the battlefield, which why do you need? You should have sensor arrays that give you that.
Well, this may or may not answer this question. Probably not. But from what I understand, a lot of the vehicles that you see the Rebels use, they're supposed to have like an intuitive, like you can look at this like, okay, that's the cockpit, these are the guns. You should be able to intuitively figure out what it all means. The Empire's vehicles are not supposed to be that way, because they're supposed to be like cutting edge technology, because they are the uber powerful rich group. So the TIE fighter is supposed to be the cutting edge weapon, not the X-wing. It's just that obviously it's supposed to work by outnumbering your opponent like 1,000 to 1, in which case the X-wing will lose. Because like 2 to 1 the X-wing might lose with the TIE fighters because they're significantly faster. But yeah, the thing I liked about Phantom Menace designs though is that you can tell there's a backstory to the droid stuff, because like the droid fighters are just droids. Like that's the way you should design your things, but the tanks aren't. The tanks actually have a crew in them, meaning they had to have bought them from someone else, which means they still have to like give orders to the droids instead of just like, pushing a button.
Yeah, even the droid dropships, like when you see like the cut, it's not meant for organics. It's meant for a few organics, but everything's meant to be packing as many droids as you can into it. The wings and everything are meant to just fit whatever you can into it.
The MTT.
Yes, the MTTs with their droid racks. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, why?
Yeah, and you gotta kind of pay attention to when the tanks are starting to roll out. If you look, you can see internally how they're coming in, like you're saying, from the wings and down.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yes, and when you finally get to see them roll out across the Windows XP background.
Yeah. Yeah, they go to, what is it, Florence? Is that where they film most of the scenes, I think?
Yeah.
For Naboo.
The ridiculously large rolling planes.
Yeah.
Yes. Which I don't know. Every time I saw that green hill, I always just imagined Windows XP, the background of that, where it had like the rolling green hills on it. Though I think the battle, that battle there, yeah, they had shield generators, but to me it seems like there have been so many more ways to deal with that. I mean, why did the troops have to march in first? Why couldn't they just have the troops march in right in front of the tanks?
Oh, you mean have the tank drive through the shield and then just open fire?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the shield, I think, is supposed to shut down repulsor craft. Which, because that's why later on you have like the clone turbo tank, the Juggernaut, whatever it is, the wheeled vehicles.
Yeah.
Because shields can't shut down the repulsor lift mechanism.
It'd be the same thing with the Imperial Walkers then.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's
well,
why they
I was
landed
gonna say,
outside the shield and walked in.
I've got the feeling that's probably the backwards excuse for the ludicrous Imperial walkers, probably.
Probably.
Well, yeah, that's like supposedly some planets did not support repulsorless, which means how would you have landed the ships in the first place? Because once you enter gravity, most of the ships use repulsorless to navigate, because otherwise they wouldn't be able to take off.
Yeah.
But my thing is, why did the Gungans try a stand-up fight?
Well, remember, it was all just a distraction so they could try to take out the droid control
Because-
ship.
True.
Because they had to get people into the palace to get to the ships to get to capture Newt Gunray.
And then get to the fight that we actually cared about.
Yeah, they were just meant to draw the army out of Theed and out into the field.
You don't gotta commit everybody to that.
Well, they didn't.
Evidently, they would have failed if, little Laney didn't hop in the Starfighter.
Hey, man, the Force.
Yes.
Fate, destiny, all that fun stuff. Qui-Gon saw it all. I've seen someone put forth the idea, and they're probably correct, why that song is called The Duel of the Fates. It's because, let's assume for a moment that we didn't all know this was a prequel, didn't know what was going to happen. The battle is over the fate of Anakin. If Qui-Gon lives, he trains him, probably trains him properly, not to put shade on Obi-Wan here, but Obi-Wan was very much like, hey, this guy's the chosen one. I'm running headlong into this because I promised Qui-Gon I would do it, but I'm probably not actually ready for it, and I'm going to try to be his friend and not necessarily his mentor. And in the final analysis, I'm going to let the council convince me to do something that's going to totally shatter any trust Anakin ever had in me. At the exact moment that Anakin needed to be able to trust him, to tell him, like, hey, like, I have totally broken the rules. Help me out, buddy. But you've shown you're a company man. I can't trust you. And so had Qui-Gon trained Anakin, well, that probably wouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
So, also, that's where John Williams is like, so, you think I can't top the original trilogy music, huh? Try this on for size. Because, yeah, Duel of the Fates is spectacular.
It is. Although I would like to say Obi-Wan knew.
Do what?
About Anakin and Padme.
I'm sure everybody
'Cause
knew.
who did he go to find out where Anakin went?
Well, exactly. But, I mean, I'm sure everyone is like, so, Anakin, we know that you literally sleep with Padme in her apartment. She's pregnant. Is there something you want to tell us? No, what are you guys talking about? People have kids with no fathers all the time. I mean, come on.
Now, coming back to Anakin, there is one thing that the Phantom Menace has done to to one person, Jake Lloyd, that I think is just wrong. I mean, yes, he was a kid actor, and he maybe had the not the best dialogue. Maybe not, but at the same time, you can only he was given that dialogue to speak and to say and the way to direction and
right. Yeah, that's I know where you're going with this.
and then the hate that people gave him. I mean, I feel bad. Like he's just a person, and like the amount of crap that people gave him for that role.
Him and Ahmed Best.
Yeah.
I'm glad that Ahmed Best at least got to be in something else Star Wars. That one is a Mandalorian episode, right? Where he's the Jedi getting Grogu out of the temple. Yeah. And he's getting a Lego figure for that, too. I think the set just came out.
Yeah.
So what, he has a second Lego figure for Star Wars?
Yes.
Nice.
But yeah, no, that's definitely, like, I know modern movies try to be like, oh, the toxic fans. Like, that was toxic fandom.
Yeah.
Like, don't go after the actors. They didn't write the damn script most of the time. If they did, then have at it. But, like, it's like with Brie Larson. She didn't write Captain Marvel. Like, I mean, she read the script, so she knew she was getting into, but she didn't write the script. Like, it's not her fault that, Captain Marvel's a less than stellar movie.
Well, and I think
no pun intended, it's most of it's in space.
I mean, I go back to when Halle Berry was in Catwoman, and she actually went up to get her Razzie and actually talked about it and said,
She really?
Yes, it is. And if you haven't seen it, it's great. But she's like, hey, I'm gonna, I Emmy or whatever, the Oscar winning, whatever.
Yeah, she's an Oscar winner.
And all of this, and she's like, I blame my agent. I blame the crew. It's like, yeah, they, or blame the writers or whatever. But then she's like, she thanked the right people, and she's like, well, these, you can't blame these people. You have to blame these people. This terrible script, and I mean, Anakin's script didn't get any better in the other movies. I mean,
No.
I actually think his transition to Darth Vader was probably more justified than him falling in love with Padme the way that they wrote. It's just one of those things where somebody else needs to look at these scripts and say, I like I know where you're going. Let me actually put human dialogue in here.
George, you can't write people.
Yeah, I mean, like Harrison Ford told him several times, apparently during the original trilogy,
Yeah.
like this works in a book. This doesn't work for real people, George. And that's why Han Solo just sounds like just a guy. Everyone else is going on about this, that, and the other. He's just like, it's a bunch of fake religion, hokey crap. It's not until the sequel trilogy. He's like, yeah, it's all true. And then gets killed by his own son. And then shows up as a Force ghost. Or a hallucination. Or something. I don't think anyone actually knows what the hell happened in...
Well, I think I think the idea is that Leia used her last bit of life essence to bring Han back from the Force plane to... Hey, you know what? I'm not...
Jim, I give you credit. I would have never considered that. But
Neither would I.
You might be onto something there.
Well, I'm saying
I think it's hokey, but you might have solved the riddle.
I heard somebody else say that because that explains why she dies about that moment, because she just somehow...
I hate to give that movie any credit at all, but that actually kind of makes sense, sort of.
Well, it also doesn't make sense that Luke projecting himself across whatever would kill him either, but
yeah,
I get it straining him and being a strain, but he was just force projecting.
I mean, I know it's the old EU, but if Nagasato could cause a star to explode with the Force, I would think Luke could Memorex himself across the galaxy.
Speaking of things you can do with the Force speed.
Oh yeah, the one thing that's mentioned in the Phantom Menace but never used anywhere ever again.
Well, you saw the video I sent you of, they've released several, but it's the one where Anakin and Obi-Wan meet up with Dooku there aboard the what's the name of the ship? The Invisible Hand.
Yeah.
And they're like, Obi-Wan's like, well, I'll just use Force speed to go after you, Dooku. And he's like, well, what if I just use Force speed to go faster than you? He's like, well, damn, I guess we're at an impasse now, aren't we? Although, someone did point out, this was probably completely unintentional in Revenge of the Sith, but there was some 400 IQ level dialogue at one point. Whenever Palpatine's like, no, leave him, and Anakin's like, his fate will be the same as ours. Think about how all three of them all died. All three of them died on one of the two Death Stars. They did all have the same fate.
Huh.
Yeah.
I would have never made that connection.
Yeah. And I'm sure George Lucas didn't either. Either that or he was just like, this is going to be really clever. People will thank me for this. 25 years later, one guy on YouTube was like, I see what you did there, George. That was clever. After he sold the franchise 10 years ago.
Yeah, well, I was hoping he was looking at buying it back.
Well, I've heard that they've asked him to come back to help with one of the movies. And it seems like he's probably going to, because it sounds like Jon Favreau has asked him to come back, and I don't know what the project is.
Well, it's bad when Disney could pretty much almost destroyed the entire Star Wars legacy. I don't know how you do that. People have almost forgotten the original trilogy as being this masterpiece, the prequels being good. It's just the crap that comes out now, and I mean, some of that's because the generation that's watching it don't always go back and watch the older stuff. They're just like, oh, this is new stuff, we're going to watch it.
I have seen some polling that indicates that the younger folks closer to Owen's age, they're not big fans of Star Wars. They're big fans of the MCU. And I get that the high point was a couple of years ago, because clearly Endgame is the high point. I don't know how you top that, and clearly they don't either, but they think it's just power escalation. So, a guy can destroy the whole universe. What about a guy that can destroy all of time? It's God, Kang sucks. Don't use him.
Doom is worthy. If you're
Doom, yes, Doom, Galactus. Maybe actually try to do the Phoenix Sagas of Justice this time with the X-Men. There's plenty of options out there. Hell, just go with the Acts of Vengeance storyline. That's where all the villains got together like, guys, we all keep losing. Let's switch who we fight. So they won't expect it. I was like, that's brilliant.
As long as you're not...
Just as long as you don't send Mysterio after Daredevil.
I was getting ready to say that.
Yeah.
Because
Spider-Man, holy shit, his illusions won't work against you. Yeah, you can have him. He's like, does this guy have a fishbowl on his head? He's your villain now.
Yeah, the only thing you can do against him is audio illusions.
Yeah, I mean, he could, if he knew he was going up against Daredevil, he could wreck Daredevil's day. Just like flash bangs all over the place. Like, ah!
Well, technically any villain with flashbangs would probably be good against Daredevil.
Yeah. I mean, like, the Shocker would totally destroy him. Because those are like sonic gauntlet things. Like, it hit even close to Daredevil, and he's like, I'm out. Elektra, go kill that guy. Yeah, like, she would. He would be dead.
Anyways, we're back. We're supposed to be talking Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
Phantom Menace.
Well, it's one of the few actual space battles we got in the prequels.
Yeah. We didn't even really have one in Attack of the Clones, did we? We had the one-on-one through the asteroid field, but that was it, wasn't it?
No, the space battle for Attack of the Clones is actually in video games.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's one where you're...
Jedi Starfighter.
Well, Jedi Starfighter, actually the Attack of the Clones for GameCube had where you fly in as like Mace Windu and you have to do things with it. But yeah, no space battles. For Star Wars, there's no war in the stars really.
Yeah, and then in Revenge of the Sith, it's in the opening of the movie.
Yes. Well, then they're like, hey, you want a space battle? Here you go.
Yeah.
And then you don't see any of it. You just see up close with the buzz droids, and you're just like, I want to see this around here. Not this. This. I want the pants crapping moment that you have in Return of the Jedi when they just had so many fighters on screen that like they had to like materialize out of nothing because the technology.
The waves coming at them that just like start appearing. Yeah.
Which on Rogue Squadron, I think did it right, where you just start seeing the dots appear, and it's just like nothing, to the point where there isn't like you have to destroy all the ships. It's like you just have to destroy a set number of ships just because they keep coming.
Yeah, I still think the space battle in the end of Rogue One was good. I mean, especially since it's only 2 Star Destroyers and a shitload of TIE fighters.
Yeah, but then we saw the real use of the hammerheads.
Yeah.
One always made me wonder, though, if there was something different with Vader's Imperial Star Destroyer, because he definitely had a ship drive straight into it with no... I guarantee...
Yeah, the ones that just smashed against it, just keep going.
And I guarantee he didn't come out of hyperspace with his shields on. I'm pretty sure that was kind of one of those weird things. It's like you enter hyperspace, unless your shields work in hyperspace, I don't know.
I would think that does something, because of your increased speed, like if anything hits you, you're probably done.
Yeah,
But I thought...
So I think the ray
Well-
shields that stop matter, I think. Because Star Wars has 2 shields.
Because they have energy
They have
shields.
the energy shields and the matter shields.
the ray shields are the...
The ones that stop people. That's why that's why in the Invisible Hand they actually engage the ray shields to, as a trap.
I don't know how. They were smarter than that.
But the Yuuzhan Vong were able to fire stuff through their shields, though.
Yeah.
So, like the ray shields, none of their shields did any good against them. So, I know we're just rambling off on other topics.
Mm-hmm.
Which is par for course for our videos.
Yes.
I mean, Phantom Menace introduced Darth Maul.
Yeah.
Yeah, and killed them off. And
Well-
they realized it was a mistake, so...
Robot legs.
Robot legs it is.
Yeah, the first iteration of that is actually in a comic book. It's Visionaries or Visions. It's him with cybernetic legs, like very visibly robotic, but his horns have grown out like to here, and he's coming after Obi-Wan, like what happens in Clone Wars? No, not Clone Wars.
Rebels.
Yeah, that's where the idea kind of first took root, and then the people doing the animated series are like,
Although,
I like the cut of your jib, guy. Let's do that.
with bringing Darth Maul back, they should have kept the spider body.
Well, I still think that if you were going to go back and do anything, like Maul should have been what got turned into General Grievous.
Ooh.
Because then he'd have force powers, and it'd be a preview of, like, Sidious doesn't like just randomly wasting apprentices if there's anything left to rebuild.
Yeah.
As a foreshadowing of what's going to happen at the end of the movie.
That would have been smart.
But they tried to give General Grievous force powers. He's supposed to have the blood of Sifo Dyas running through his veins. It didn't do anything to him, though.
Yeah, I assumed, like, if that could work, then you know that there'd be like just like a black market of like, hey guy, I've got a midichlorian count. You want a pint? It's going to cost you. And I don't accept Republic credits here in the Outer Rim.
Well, you know that, and with talking about Darth Maul, where Obi-Wan cut him in half. This is, it wasn't like at the legs; it was above the legs.
Yeah.
So that means he has to have a robot asshole.
Well, I really thought you were going to go somewhere else with that, Jim. Like, that's just as bad.
It also has to have that robotic, Bobbie.
Yeah, well, yeah, like I say, all of the fluid stuff would have to work in a certain way. I'm trying to keep this respectable here.
Yeah, that's why I kind of wonder where you're going with it. But doesn't...
I'm pretty sure his ability to have children is not going to happen.
I wouldn't think so. But
Not through normal means. He
No.
could be cloned and then have
No.
children, but...
what also doesn't... what's her name in The Mandalorian? Wouldn't she have a similar setup now?
Who?
Because she got, like, shot in the stomach and Boba Fett was like, here, I gave you robot guts.
Oh.
You're welcome.
Finn Shannick.
Yeah, her.
Fennec Shan.
Yeah, there you go.
Her too.
Which
I had the right words, just backwards.
which makes actually less sense than anything, because if that was the case, then everybody would just have robot guts at this point.
Well, I think from talking, like, lightsaber and or blaster to the torso, like, basically anywhere should just kill you outright.
Just from the extreme heat.
Yes, because the moment the lightsaber enters your body, like, it should just, all your organs should basically just explode.
I mean, yeah, like, Qui-Gon got stabbed in the chest. He died.
Yeah.
Yeah, there shouldn't have been you got to train him, Obi-Wan.
Yeah, it should literally just be like, well, George, go for the R rating on this one.
That'd be great if it was just like you stab and then just boom.
But no, it's, lightsabers, you can survive.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Unless you're Qui-Gon, like...
Well, as
Made it fall into his force healing.
Like Sabine Wren survived in basically the same wound.
as noble as the Jedi are, they are definitely about disarming people, literally,
Yes.
and to any limb, pretty much.
Yeah.
And if you're that one snake guy with 4 limbs, all of your limbs, and maybe your tail.
I mean, removing someone's limbs doesn't kill them, so... The blood loss following that will.
Yeah, cauterizing the wound.
Yes, the lightsaber cauterizes the wound.
No, it does not. Watch A New Hope. It does not cauterize the wound.
I think it just kind of completely cauterized Obi-Wan. No, you're talking earlier in the cantina.
Yeah.
The arm. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you didn't see him bleeding all over the place.
Speaking of that scene, I want to know, why do they not serve droids?
Because they don't drink.
No, because of the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
But they don't say that. In A New Hope originally, was it ever mentioned that...
That wasn't the reason that they didn't mention a reason. We just have this random moment where old Wooher there, I assume that's how you pronounce his name, Wuher, because what's her name from the Golden Girls must have had the day off.
Yeah.
Oh, God. That's the Star Wars Christmas special.
It's a little shout out to the Christmas special for those of you who've seen it.
One of the Golden Girls was the bartender that day.
It was a B. Arthur, right?
B. Arthur, yes.
And yeah, he just this random moment, he's like, I don't serve your kind in here. There's some random droid racism there for no apparent reason.
I always thought because they didn't drink or eat and they would take up room at a table.
Well, that would make sense.
Well, as long as they stood by the table, who cares?
Yeah.
If they're there with their people.
Look, if they're standing room for a droid around a table, they're standing room for a paying customer around a table.
Also, gotta get that dance floor moving with Figure and Dan and his crew up there playing the same song over and over and over again.
You want to hear the same song again? Okay.
Any request? Hey, play that same song. All right, same song again. But yeah, no, having watched it recently, like I told Jim in a conversation earlier, I did realize there's like an actual major problem with the movie.
Oh,
Well, when they're stuck on the Outer Rim, why the hell didn't Qui-Gon just call the Jedi Temple? They are a galaxy-spanning organization. I'm sure that they can get whatever passes for money on that dirt ball or bring something of value with them.
And that was the other thing
that the Naboo ship did have supplies for travel to Coruscant.
Yeah, which would take them like 3 days, because remember, it's Star Wars, and you can get to the other side of the galaxy like that, unlike slow-ass Star Trek.
They still had communications, because they were able to get a hold of everywhere else still.
Or if they were concerned about that, I'm sure they can find someone that can send a message for them.
Yeah, that is
Plus, they had a literal army with them, because most of those guys they free from the hangar get on board the ship and are armed. They could have just stolen the thing from Watto. Like, sure, that's not going to look good on the Jedi record, but, like, push comes to shove.
Well, the other thing is Watto not taking Republic credits. I get that Republic credits don't have, that's not the spending currency there, but if they're like, hey, we'll double the amount of Republic credits, he can go somewhere else, buy something, or get something that's worth the money, and then have twice as much money.
Yeah, because presumably Watto has a ship. Or if he doesn't, he can book passage, I'm sure, to a Republic world.
Hello there. Sorry for the interruption, or rather, it's not really an interruption. We hit a bit of a technical spot whenever we recorded this video. And, we were using Jim's phone at the time. And did not realize that the camera had stopped recording right here where the video stopped. There was probably another 20 some odd minutes where we just kind of kept on going. And so I couldn't just, stop the video. It needed an actual ending. This is actually the second attempt at recording the ending. No, sorry. This is the third attempt. Because after finding out that we had botched the last 20 minutes of video, I was like, hey, we need to record an actual ending. So we used my phone. And something went wrong, and we recorded all of 4 seconds of video, so obviously no good there. Then I recorded another attempt here in the car, because everyone had to get going, and I made reference to something that we thought was in the section that didn't quite make it, but in fact is in the video itself, so I'm re-recording this and not mentioning that, and so this is basically the end of the video after assorted things happened. I don't really know what all we mentioned after the cutoff point. I do know that we mentioned the new poster that the re-release got, which you get to check out right now. Pretty awesome, isn't it? I thought so. That's probably why I'm also going to use it for the thumbnail for the video, if I haven't already done so. So anyway, in closing, it's been 25 years since the Phantom Menace came out. As I mentioned, I saw it 7 times originally. I saw it once again in 3D and once again just a few weeks ago. I almost just turned around and walked back into the theater to watch it another time just to make it an even 10. And if the opportunity presents itself, I probably will, just to say I've seen it 10 times in a theater. Attack of the Clones, if I see it in 3 years, will mark probably 3 times in the theater, because I think I only watched it twice in its original theatrical run, and I have not watched it in its entirety since then. So I'm definitely going to have to do that at some point in the near future. And then I did see Revenge of the Sith, I believe, 5 times. And the last time, it was in theaters long enough, the last time I think I already owned it on home video whenever it came out. Whenever I saw it the 5th time. So, because it was very, very late in. I think it was in August whenever I saw it. The movie came out in May. So, anyway, like we said in the video, I think like we said in the video, probably didn't because we got cut off at the end. If you've seen, what are your thoughts 25 years in here on the Phantom Menace? Did you like it? Did you dislike it? Was it the beginning of the end of the Star Wars Empire? Was it were days renewed with a new audience formed? I know we didn't mention this, but over the last few years, I've seen a lot of prequel era cosplays at the conventions. Used to see a lot of the slave Leia outfit, and more and more I see more of Padme's outfit. Now, it's from Attack of the Clones, the one on Geonosis. Although I've seen one or two of like the full like Queen getup, and they've been pretty impressive. And of course, Anakin is pretty easy to pull off. Once you have the outfit and the right kind of hair, essentially, as long as you can make a scar. But again, that's from Revenge of the Sith. I don't see many people cosplaying as Jake Lloyd Anakin. And then I don't see a whole lot of Jar Jar. But just in case it didn't make it into the video, I don't think it did. But I didn't realize until I watched it this time that Boss Nass was voiced by Brian Blessed. And for those of you who don't know who he is off the top of your head, he, in Flash Gordon, was Voltan, the leader of the Hawkmen. Also in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, at the very beginning of the movie, he's Robin's dad before Alan Rickman shows up, accuses him of witchcraft, and kills him. So, and he's been in all kinds of other roles, and he's a big name in British cinema. But Voltan is the one a lot of people know him from. So I didn't realize that, but like as soon as I saw him in the credits, like it all kind of clicked. Like, yeah, the voice sounds familiar. Yeah, it makes sense. So, yeah. And I think we covered the one other like plot inconsistency that Jim and I talked a little bit about. As far as like, after all these times of seeing it, it finally dawned on me like, why the hell didn't they just call the Jedi? But anyway, this is getting way too long. I'm starting to talk about the movie now, so we're gonna cut it off right here. Thank you folks for watching. Again, like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff. Tell us down in the comments what you think of the movie. Think of us rambling about the movie. Do you really want me to take up Jim's challenge of watching The Last Jedi and trying to find something good about it? I mean, I'm going to regardless, but like, do you actually want to see that? But anyway, thank you folks for watching, and remember, may the Force be with you always.